pretty bad for a while, I guess, eh?
Well, actually, this morning when I woke up, I'm looking out right now, and it's not too bad. It's actually, I can see blue sky. I can see white clouds and blue sky in the air right now. But hey, the picture here was what it was like across the region, yesterday. So there we go. Now, the interesting thing is about that is I thought about why it was all blazing red, and clearly a lot of the red from the flames up north got sucked up into the atmosphere. There was red dust or something got sucked up into the atmosphere.
I don't think there's red dust, but it might have been reflection of the fires. Could be just a light going through it.
These are hundreds of miles away, well outside our visual range.
I don't think it's red. I don't think it's red dust. I don't think it's red dust. What it is probably is what the sun light goes through it, and whatever kind of refraction happens there, it gives it a reddish hue.
But it's smoke that's.
But I don't think the dust itself is red.
But it's smoke that's gotten pulled up into the upper atmosphere, I think.
Well, there's all kinds of there's all kinds of soot up there.
Yeah.
And if there's a reddish hue to it, it has more to do with refraction than anything else, I think.
The other thing is to note, of course, is all across Ontario, a lot of things got cancelled. And they're basically saying until the air quality improves, like, for example, the Niagara Falls fireworks program has been paused until air quality has been improved. Although this morning, now I'm seeing the sunlight, it actually looks a lot better. First thing, when the sun came up, it was very hazy. Now it's improving. Weird. So we may get the blast of hot air that we were getting yesterday.
Yes. So it depends on shifting winds. If they get a big rainstorm up north, which isn't supposed to happen anytime soon, I don't think, that would change things. So wind changes, all kinds of different things are involved here. So here we go again.
I went out this morning and I could smell the smoke in the air, as if somebody had lit a barbecue, next door or something, which they haven't, right?
Yeah, I smelled it last night. I was very surprised to smell it last night.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
But in Niagara Falls, Lions Pool and Buck Hinsberger Pool are both closed. Right, as are outdoor pools across the region. And Niagara Public Health has issued a warning to stay away from outdoor facilities, and in a lot of those, any events have been rescheduled. Right.
Okay.
And they have
to
be, really, don't they?
Yeah. Basically, everybody just has to be careful where they go. They're going to have to cancel events. It's going to be a respiratory nightmare for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So be very careful out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, the funny thing is, of course, is that if you were to open the door, there's no reason why that air quality wouldn't come inside, that poor air quality. But again, we only open the door for a few minutes. And even if you left it open, there's a buffer between the air that you've got inside and the air that's outside, right? So the only other time I've ever seen a weather event like this was when I was on the I-494 south of Minneapolis somewhere, when there was a rainstorm that came in that meant that I couldn't see 10 meters ahead of me. I had to get off.
I've had a lot of those. I've had a lot of those right here in Southern Ontario.
Yeah.
God, one time I thought we were going to get picked up by a tornado. I don't know what was hitting us, but everybody just had to stop.
Yeah.
Like you could talk about 10 meters. You couldn't see outside inches outside your windshield.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that kind of reminded me of that in some respects. And basically, this wildfire smoke, etc., is something that Toronto was basically being because of it. Toronto was ranked as among the worst of air quality in the world yesterday.
Yes, of course. Well, but
And
I
they've
will
also been cancelling outdoor events as well, of course, as you would expect. Probably every city in the affected area has.
Well, the thing is, the smoke got down as far as Washington, and of course, the first thing that Donald Jesus Trump said was, we're gonna have to tariff it." Yep.
Yeah, I know.
You're giving us too much cheap smoke. Our smoke is better than your smoke. All right, everyone, light up fires, light some fires.
But again, hey, this whole air system comes from the USA, so they can have it back.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah.
So they would gladly give it back to them. Okay.
All right.
Yep. Got a few comments as you might expect from that. Good morning. Smells like burnt plastic. Yeah. Smoky and thorough, still smoky. Actually interesting because I can see clear sky right now. Good morning, Niagara. Good morning, Karen. Yep. They can't get real big fans. They can get real big fans. Yeah. Of course. Right. Maybe it's time for a Ferris wheel out there.
Well, you see, there is a second use for a giant Ferris wheel. You put some vanes on it and spin it faster, and you got a giant fan.
Yeah. Right. And Gary's basically saying his COPD won't be fun today. Yeah, it was probably horrible yesterday, wasn't it, Gary? Pounding on my puffers. Yeah, I get it. All right, and good morning, Betty. Good morning, everybody. All right. So, and one more comment. Carney's fault. Yeah. The weather's Trump's fault, and the wildfire is Carney's fault. There we go. Problem solved. Done. Let's go, Dave. Right.
I wish those two would get their act together. What do you think?
Yeah, we can go home. We don't need to do the rest of the show, do we? We're done.
Well, we're pretty well. I'm fairly grateful that everything that goes wrong in the world is either Carney or Trump. So, I mean, all we have to do is flip a coin and see which one is the worst.
And if it isn't the one that you think it is, it's best of three, right?
Yeah. I twisted my ankle yesterday. That GD Carney.
Yeah. Okay. So there are some more comments here. Oh, okay. So St. Cat's smoky too. Yes, I know. It was very smoky yesterday. I didn't smell the smoke yesterday, but I can smell the smoke this morning. Morning, Mike. Yeah.
Well, I remember years ago working at Port Weller, and at Port Weller Dry Docks, there was a gigantic lathe that I was leveling up with another guy, sighting with optical equipment, and I was the grunt. I had to do the hammer work, hammer in the bolts, and the jacks and so on, and then lock them in place, and then to shoot the lathe. There's a big long lathe for boat or ship propellers and so on. So but there was a fire at the time. There was a fire up north, and you could see the smoke and smell the smoke. I could see and smell the smoke from my house to Port Weller. But when I was in Port Weller, it was okay. But just outside the border of Port Weller, I guess for some reason, I don't know, the wind was something there.
Yeah.
Then it got really smelled like a wood, like a campfire, basically.
Yeah. Well, I changed my screen back to normal again. But it was definitely eerie yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah. All right, moving on. So Chippawa, Willoughby, Niagara Falls has approved a new multi-million-dollar community center, the Chippawa Willoughby Community Center project, and it will include an NHL-sized ice pad and conversion of the existing pad into an indoor turf field and addition of gymnasium and public library at a cost of $59.5 million.
Well, it's not 59.9 million, it's 65 point something million, but they're going to be able to reduce it down through reserves and things like that. They got a funny way of, So actually, the community facility there is a wonderful facility. You're going to have a really nice ice pad there. I would have rather probably had 2 ice pads there, but anyway, we got an ice pad there. I played a lot of no-hit hockey there in Chippawa. It's a good location all in all. It's not in a city part, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about traffic or anything to get there. But in any case, it's going to be a very, very good facility, and it's going to last for very many years. The trouble is the price tag. And Paul and I went over this one in our agenda review, and it was going to cost the average taxpayer about $4, I think. $4. I don't know if it was a year or a month. I can't remember now. Anyway, so it is not a huge. They've taken a lot of effort to use up reserves that we already have, so that the pressure will not be put so much on the average taxpayer.
To be quite honest,
adventures.
Yeah, to be quite honest here, Dave, Chippewa's needed it because, in fact, actually, there's been so many closures of public things in Chippewa. I've lost count of how many things over the last five or so years that have closed in Chippewa. That have been Chippewa's almost been kind of closing everything. So we need this. We do need this. I would think, but the things that are closing in Chippewa really are not, factories or other places of work. I think the Norton finally gave up his ghost for the final time. So in any case, I would say here that it's a very good thing, because we're going to expand there, aren't we? Like the new populations will expand there. It's never very far away. We think, Chippewa is so far away. But if you live in places like Toronto or Scarborough or anywhere else, we have quite a drive to get to any place where there's a sports facility. Then you can appreciate, like we were very lucky here in Niagara Falls because nothing's that far away from us. And so anyone in the city can use those facilities. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that ice pad's going to be rented out all the time for people, girls doing their hockey and their figure skating, and the lads doing their hockey. I wonder if they could use it in the summertime for a lacrosse bowl. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. Well, actually, that's because Gale Center for me is a walkable distance. A long walk, but it's still a walkable distance.
Gale Center, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, it's a long walk, but it's still walkable.
Well, I mean, it's close. It like how long is it going to look? It's going to take me what?
Right. I have
at max 15 minutes or something to get, or 20 minutes to get to the Chippewa site if I wanted to use it.
Yeah.
Well,
but
the fact of the matter is put it there for a specific purpose to serve the community in the southern part of Niagara Falls.
Yeah. Yeah. I have friends who come down a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a year, attending hockey events in Gale Center. I just wish
it's got
a bit more than just hockey.
Well, it should be. It's community center, right?
Yeah.
But the fact, anyway, these things are just good. They got libraries there. They got everything you want. I've even got a daycare center. They're talking about daycare and all that. This serves the community very, very well. And this is a time where, you know, I can understand, you know, after being with Paul a lot, when he goes through these agenda reviews, he picks apart the dollars and cents pretty well.
Oh yeah, I like doing that as well. You know, with them. You know, I used to
in
do
this,
that.
but in this particular case, it is a place that we can't be a piker. We have to look at the community's needs, and of course, there's the needs and the wants. This is a revised plan, by the way. Remember, the first one would be huge. What does Gary say here? You wouldn't have needed the review for this story if you actually watched the council meeting. LOL. I tried to get the council meeting on, but my internet, and I don't know what was going on. I couldn't watch it on Tuesday, and then I'm gonna have to get it up on YouTube and watch it. But I couldn't. I tried for, I don't know what was going on. I couldn't get it. Yeah, I could get it on, and I could move it past the in-camera meeting, but then it would just wouldn't work after that. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to get on the meeting better.
Maybe.
But in any case, yeah.
Did you go to? Did you go
also? Also in just as an aside, on that city council meeting, there was a proposal there by Lori Lococo, which stated that that the people in Thundering Waters are bumming out by construction noise. They call it construction noise, but it's not construction noise. It's actually the noise of Washington Mills abrasive factory. Well, you know what, people? Guess what? They were there a long time before you were, and as an abrasives plant, so it has to go 24/7. It has electric furnaces. You don't shut them off on the weekend. They have to go 24/7 all the time. Otherwise, it doesn't work otherwise. And if you're griping about the sounds that are coming from Washington Mills, then why did you put your house there?
Yeah. Again, exactly that. It's like, okay, so I live in 4th Avenue, and if I'd have lived here 40 years ago, I'd have had that horrible cyanamide stuff falling on my garden, wouldn't I? On my cars and everything like that.
Well, it might have got past you because they had stacks, so it might have, I don't know, whatever. But you might have heard some industrial noise. You might have heard some industrial noise, whatever. But
but you get what I mean. It would have been my fault, you know. If I'd have moved in at that time, it would have been I couldn't complain about that stuff coming down on my house, could I?
Yeah, it was just like when they complained about Hodges Steel there for all this. So, Hodges Steel makes lots of noise. Well, look, you just put your homes close to a fabrication place that's been there forever, and across the street from that is a junkyard.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Yeah. It's going to be noisy.
Yeah. Right. And in fact, I prefer that we have these industries there because they bring good paying jobs in the area.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There is
stop moaning about
jobs for our
moaning about the industry. They bring jobs. Right. Yeah. It's better that we have places like Washington Mills or Norton than we have Tim Hortons, right? Because at least
anyone know the Sallet Steel, the guys there and their union are on strike. If you drive down Stanley Avenue, right across from one of the Washington Mills plants there's guys on strike there. And I'm wondering how that's going. I don't know if any of our listeners know anything about how well that strike is developing. The guys are still on the picket line. I honk my horn every time I go by them, as in solidarity. Me being a union guy, of course. But
damn strikers, just to be awkward and take the opposite viewpoint for a second.
Yeah. So I wonder how that's progressing. I meant to look into that, but I didn't see anything in the review about it. But anyway.
Yeah. All right.
If anyone has any info, just send it along.
3 people out there on Saturday, says Gary.
I Wilkins News reporting 3 people there on Saturday. Yeah, I was there. I passed by there yesterday too. Washington Mills has a contract that produces cubic zirconium. Oh wow, which gives off hexagonal chromium. Oh, I didn't know cubic zirconium because when I worked in the abrasive plants, it was all pretty much abrasive materials. It was stuff for grinding wheels, right down to nail files. You know, different kinds of abrasive materials.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, well, thank you for the Chippawa update there. All right. And a couple of other things. WestJet workers on strike too.
All these people, First Air Canada and Canada Post and New WestJet. Well, we did have. I will point out, and with Canada Post, there is a good article. We didn't touch it the other day, but the Canada Post, the Canada Post.
It's up next. It's up next on my list. So let's talk about Canada Post, because basically they paid out, and because of everything that's gone on, they've recently submitted a document to Parliament revealing that it paid out $30.8 million in performance bonuses to over 2,300 executives and managers for the 2025 Canada calendar year, yet they made a $1.57 billion pre-tax deficit, right? And had to be bailed out for $670 million. There's a principle at play here that is absolute must in my mind. If a organization there's a question, of course, with Canada Post, whether it's a service or for profit. But if it's defined as for profit, if it doesn't make a profit, nobody gets a bonus.
Yeah, well, we found what was happening with CBC, didn't we? CBC laid off a lot of people. Yeah. They were doing extremely poorly, and the performance bonuses, well, they didn't call them bonuses. They had a different name for them. But it was a bonus nevertheless. And they had Catherine Tate, I think her name was, who was speaking, who is director of the CBC. And they said, well, how much bonuses are going to get this year? Oh, we don't know. That'll depend on that. She damn well knew that every one of them was going to get a big fat bonus.
Yeah, a nice check.
All the directors. Well, the company was laying off people and produced and was very, very poor, meeting the demands of modern media. Yeah. And yet they were getting big fat bonuses. And this is the same thing here. We have a terrible situation where a lot of our postal workers face being laid off or the whole post office being downsized because it costs so much. We heard about as $1 billion behind every year, and that we can't do door-to-door service and we can't do this and that. And so the place is failing. They haven't come up with any kind of solutions to turn that around. But guess what? Those people who are running the show and watching it fail get a big fat bonus. Isn't that just sweet? Right? Should be fired. Their ass should be fired. You know what I mean? And what they do, hey, guess what? You did terrible. You did a terrible job. Here's a pile of money for you.
It's just essentially my view upon this is, well, there's a big argument as to whether the post office should be run as a service or as a for-profit type thing, but it currently is run really for profit. And when it's run for profit and it's not making a profit, then nobody should get a bonus. And I'm, it's, but how do you turn the post office around, right? Some countries, for example, my son's in Kenya right now. they don't have you don't get mail delivered to your door. You have to go to the post office to collect mail. Right? You get a PO box. You get a PO box number, and and that's how you get your mail.
Well, that's what they used to do in the rural areas, but yeah. So, but we have a mail system, and that helped develop our country.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was in Morocco in 1974, I learned there that when that country tried to move itself away from third world status, basically, the very first thing it did was come up with an extremely efficient post office system, with delivered mail and everything. That helped businesses. That helped people, of course, getting postcards from Aunt Matilda or whatever. But it also helped businesses in a big way, particularly small businesses.
Yeah, because
it made communications back then, before there was lots of phones or texts or whatever, made communications very reliable.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have that situation here. We don't need the post office as much for as many letters as we get, but we do have a workforce there, a federal workforce that we can put to use in other ways. We don't have to dump them. We don't have to get rid of them. They don't have to lose their jobs. We got to find something else for them to do. And the first thing we can do is stop giving massive bonuses to the people who failed in the first place, the ones that directed the post office.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you can do, right? And help some of these people with that massive bonus keep their jobs that they have by finding them other work.
Yeah.
You have a federal workforce that you could put to, you can do wellness checks. They can do wellness checks all over the city. They could do any manner of job, delivery job, or whatever else. There's got to be a way to take that workforce, save as many as you can, so they don't have to go, on unemployment or even lose their job. And I think it's just very bad management that we got to this particular place.
Yeah.
It did not respond to the realities on the ground. And for their inability and lack of insight, here's a big fat bonus.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask this question. You may or may not know the answer to this. What's the union's response to this management payout? Right, because that's a lot of money, and I would think the union would be quite pissed.
Of course, they're looking at cutbacks and wage restraints and all that, and then they see the people who failed in the planning, failed in the in taking the post office in a different direction, failed miserably, getting a big fat hunk of money. But this happens in the private industry too. Don't forget. Look what happened in Stelco when Stelco was having its big problems and everything like that. Do you remember that? And in that case, the Harris government allowed Stelco to use the pension fund that it had collected for its employees. It allowed the Stelco to use that for rehabilitating its mill. But what was the very first thing that came out of when they released those funds? Were $10,000. I think it was $10,000, but it was bonuses to the executives. So here are the executives who put the place in a bad spot already. The government comes along and says, so that you can continue on, we're going to let you use up the pension fund that you have collected for your employees. And when they did that, the first thing they did was give each other a big fat bonus.
Bonuses, yeah.
And these are the same people who put the company in bad straits in the first place.
But
so it happens in the private industry as well.
Yeah, but to quote this, Union President Jan Simpson has basically issued a public statement about this and said it's double standards at the bargaining table, and that they have a sharp contradiction that management repeatedly claims that Canada Post was on the brink to demand concessions from frontline workers during those negotiations, yet they found millions to reward themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah, he said precisely. I mean, it's really got to be.
I get what the union guys, what the union lady is saying, Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's double standards here, right?
Yeah,
I hate double standards.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. It's just silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you're looking at, I
And
know.
you compare that most of those executives against the average postal worker, and how much more are they earning on average?
What, the executives? I don't know.
Yeah, probably 3, 4 times their salary, maybe even more, maybe even 10 or
Well,
20 times, right?
my point is, uh, whether you're in the private sector or you're in the public sector, those people at the top grease themselves steady.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
at the expense of the average person.
there was
You know?
one incident I remember from 30 odd years ago, where there was an announcement by the boss of some factory in an area that I was working in. The announcement of the boss was, "We're doing pretty badly right now, and I've just given myself a 50% pay cut." Right,
Oh,
and he was serious about it because he had given himself a pay cut.
well, all the other executives are going to have him assassinated.
Probably. But he had given himself a pay cut, and it was quite public about it. But it was also part of this area where he could now negotiate. He could negotiate harshly.
Oh, okay.
It would drive. It enabled him actually to take. And basically help the negotiations with the union. Basically.
Well, anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just covering a few of the comments that are out there. On the subjects like this, we always get a lot, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. The bonuses. I was just trying to figure out what the average bonus would be. It looks like $100,000. Probably not that. It's probably more like the 13,000 or something. But so why do we pay? Okay, turn that back. The Betty Zoom. So why do we pay celebrities millions? It's just a job. Celebrities get paid millions because they make millions. So, for instance, if a celebrity becomes pretty popular, I don't know, a movie star or something like that, they become a box office draw.
Yeah.
Then the movie company knows they're going to make a lot of money using a particular celebrity. They have star power. They have money making abilities. So if you make a movie with somebody without star status compared to one with, that makes a big difference when it comes to money. Pete Rose, when Pete Rose moved from Cincinnati Reds to the Philadelphia, he was beyond his best years. But the fact that it was Pete Rose, went to Philadelphia and played for them, he made an outrageous salary at the time, $800,000, which was thought to be insane. But what happened is the box office draw incredibly turned up. The television viewed draw went up. He more than paid for himself tenfold,
absolutely,
15-fold. So that's why celebrities, because we like celebrities for some reason, the average person. Well, for me, I wouldn't. Celebrity to me is somebody like Carl Sagan or Stephen Hawking. Yeah, I would line up to talk to those guys. If it was Brad Pitt or some other great actor,
I'm not interested.
I wouldn't really bother much,
I'm not interested in those. I'm not interested in what's the name, the Perez Hilton or some of the people like that. They mean nothing to me, right? I'd be more a sports superstar. Maybe I'd have more to want to talk to them because you got something in common with them, how they played, etc., the goal they scored, maybe something like that. Movie stars, no interest whatsoever. Music stars, maybe a little bit of interest because especially one whose song that you like, right?
Well,
But
look, the
there's
celebrity
some utter celebrities out there that are completely useless. Right?
this celebrity thing. You talk about an imbalance and celebrity thing, how unfair it is. Look, Brad Pitt gets millions of dollars for going on a movie, right? And here I am going on TV being a bingo caller, right? I'm
And you
much
get
more
nothing.
in the public face, right? I don't have anything written for me, basically. I have to do it all myself, right? And we look almost exactly the same. So, look, I mean, and I don't make millions of dollars. There is a really, it's just so totally unfair.
Mr. Hard Done by Bingo Caller.
Yeah, look at me and Brad Pitt, like we're mirror images of each other, except he.
Except he's thin. He's thin, and women is thin and gorgeous, and women beg at his feet all the time.
Well, that's all the studio propaganda. Look, I'm a celebrity. I'm a real celebrity.
Well,
I'm a bingo caller. Wait, I'm a bingo caller, and right, everybody knows, right, and I know what it's like to be a real celebrity because I go around the malls and all the shopping areas and walk around and watch everybody pretend they don't know me. That's the real life of a celebrity.
No. The truth of the matter is, Dave, they don't know you. He goes there and he goes, "Look, I'm this proud Dave Wheeler guy. You know me from Celebrity Bingo on Kojiko every Sunday night." And they go, "Never watch it. Don't know who you are. Never seen
Au contraire, au contraire, au contraire."
I just hate feeding into your delusions, man.
I just like to see Brad Pitt try to do my bingo calling.
Oh, I would say that you're a million miles ahead of him. That's for sure. Absolutely. Right. He couldn't do your bingo calling. That's for sure. Because he wouldn't know red 99.
Look, all I have, look, like Brad Pitt was in Troy, he played Achilles. Well, I could do that too. All you can do is flash a sword around. Look, you got to, when you do bingo, you got to pick out the ball. You got to determine what the number is. You got to show it to everybody. Look, this is Brad Pitt. Oh, okay. I come to cut you out in half with this sword, mate.
Okay.
See?
All right. Let's get back to some seriousness again. All right.
I was serious.
Doug Ford vows to close the loopholes after a ruling from the Social Benefits Tribunal this week that extends Ontario Works eligibility to migrants who don't have legal status.
Oh, this is something that's going to frost everybody's up. Like, now I don't know how Doug Ford's right. Like, but so what is happening here in this particular case? A migrant worker came to Ontario illegally, has worked all this time, and worked various jobs, stayed under the radar, still illegal. Then pops up and says, "Here I am. I need help from Ontario Works." And somebody says, "Oh yeah, you're entitled." And of course, Doug Ford says, "What?" So, but of course, the way the article is written, it is written to make you angry, I think.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
so I would like to hear the other side of that story. But on the surface, it does not sound too good. So you got a migrant worker. He sneaked into Canada. He's been abusing the system ever since, and now he's going to go on Ontario Works. Yeah, that's not exactly.
Actually, here the thing is, Ontario Regulation 134 of 98 states that visitors and tourists are not eligible for Ontario Works. So that would seem that on the surface, this individual should not have been, eligible to obtain Ontario Works. So there must be some condition under which Ontario Works was being found to be legal, and a lot of it is, I suppose, about what you might well define as a visitor or tourist. Because as a worker, as a person who's been working, surely then he's no longer a visitor or tourist.
The fact that he's been working illegal, though.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, which is illegal. Working in the black market like that is illegal.
Yeah.
Being here, he's here illegally, so that's illegal. You know, he's been working under the table, cash jobs. That's illegal. So he's not been paying any tax, has he? So he hasn't been paying a tax. He's here illegal. He's working under the table. He's not paying tax. And now that I haven't been paying tax and living here all this time, I find it hard to make a living. So how about some Ontario works? Okay.
Well, it's a weird one because there are many people who apply for things like OW that are due it, that have paid their dues, and get rejected. You know, it happens all the time. Rejections to OW.
Yeah, which makes you pause on this one.
Yeah.
So there's a number of people, all sorts of people who maybe have mental health issues, physical issues.
Yeah.
Just really can't get a job, can't get sustained, ran into some hard luck along the way, but they were born in Ontario.
Yeah.
Or at least Canadian. Anyway, they were Canadian. They were either naturalized or an Ontario citizen. And you say, oh, well, you can't have any. But this migrant worker that's being here illegal, never paying any taxes on his under the table work, now wants that. So I would like to hear his side of the story, though. It doesn't sound good this way.
Okay, the regulation is clearly establishes eligibility to citizens, permanent residents, and asylum claimants. Brown's ruling effectively argues that because living in Canada, people living in Canada illegally are not explicitly excluded, they are therefore eligible for benefits. Very questionable decision, that. I'm surprised somebody isn't taking that one to the divisional court for to question it.
Yeah, so Doug Ford here says he's going to vow to close any loopholes after the ruling extends the Ontario works eligibility to migrant to a migrant without status. So that's how it leads. And of course, this is Lily. So it's a Toronto Sun article. And if you ever want to see the Sunshine Girl, it's right above the article. And she doesn't look too bad either. Wow. Anyway, that's what newspapers should all have, is a Sunshine Girl or whatever. Yeah, that's because we're a misogynistic society for sure.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Dougie Boy doesn't like it. Well, of course, the way in which this is written by the Toronto Star, so it's a right wing rag. So like the Toronto Star is a left wing rag. So first of all, you have to look into that. What is the purpose of them writing this? Is he given fair scope? It wouldn't be nearly as interesting or rage baiting if he gave the full story of the migrant side of it, which I think he probably should have done here. He should have gone to the migrant or whoever is a spokesperson for him and ask, what is the justification you see for getting Ontario works? And leave it up to us to judge whether that's well enough. But the fact of the matter here is Dougie is looking at this and saying that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. And probably he is right, but I would like to know why they extended this to a migrant worker who hasn't been paying taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the point being is what you need to be able to do, and so this dates back to. So I imagine that the Social Benefits Tribunal has just heard that very recently, and you need to be able to look up on Canly this SBT thing, but you'd have to know what you're looking for.
Well, you know what he's going to say. Doug Ford's going to say that you got all these very wokish type of decision makers in all the different facilities around, whether it's the court law or whatever it is, and he's just sick of it. They have a very liberal interpretation of the law, and what Doug's saying, look, I just want to get back down to brass tacks. We don't want idealism in our law. What we want to do is have the law. We find that there's that big problem in the States. It's huge. If your Supreme Court is weighted with liberals, then you get liberal decisions. If you're weighted with conservatives, then you get conservative decisions. In fact, up until recently, it looked as if the Supreme Court was actually serving the will of the president. It doesn't seem to be that way in reality, though. But because they've ruled against him.
Yeah.
So they've reasserted their independence. Anyway, that is something. When you take an article, and this one's from the Sun and it's from Lily, his job is to make you excited. So that's why he's not giving you the other side of the story.
Yeah, there was another version of this, but it was in a newspaper that you can't read.
Well, I bet you they're doing really good. Selling their papers that can't be read.
No, yeah. What I meant, you can't read it without a subscription, and I didn't think you had a subscription to it because I certainly don't.
No.
Right.
I have a subscription too. I have a subscription to. Yeah, I have a subscription to. I have a subscription to Globe and Mail. Yeah, and Niagara Falls Review.
Yeah, that's why I picked the Sun article, because I couldn't get the details off the other location, because I'd used up my allotted things on that particular news source. Okay, and of course, Slick is saying deport them.
Yeah, I'm with that too.
Yeah, I get the comment. Because now you've got a person who you know who they are, who's here illegally. They should be gone.
The problem is that person has been known to be illegal for a very long time. I suspect it's just being the lazy immigration people, right? But on the other hand, immigration long ago in Canada, they were gathering up the low-hanging fruit and sending it back, deporting it, and leaving the criminals alone. Now they're going after the more criminals, which takes them more time to get and more resources to get. But once they get them, it's worthwhile. It's what ICE is supposed to be doing in the States. We've been doing that already for a very long time. Canadians don't really understand that, though. I remember that because it started when an illegal killed a young cop, and then the law changed, and the immigration department were looking for the baddies more than just somebody's grandma.
Yeah,
we're looking for the real baddies. That takes more time and resources, but it's safer for the country.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what quality we could auction you off. We can go to the United Nations and say we got this guy here.
I think we auction Ricky off. Yeah. He's got a perfect Italian name there, Pizzacala, right? There we go. Auction him off to Italy or anybody else who wants to take him.
Well, actually, Italy will take you back. They have an immigration policy where people who have ancestry in Italy can come back to Italy, just like the Irish.
You can go and buy a house in parts of Italy for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard the story that it is. Okay, so moving on. Families.
Well, we got the perfect solution now. The migrant that's looking for OW can move to Italy because he can get a house for $1.
Yeah, give him $1 to get there. You know, give him $1 on the flight to get to Italy, and now his dollar's got to be spent on a home.
Hell no, Canada is a wealthy and generous country. We'll give him $10.
Okay, so you can buy 10 homes. Or maybe it's $1 to buy the home and $9 to fix it up.
Well, I don't know. If you bought 10 houses, you can live in one and rent 9 out.
Yeah, but these are shitty homes anyway. But okay. Canadian British families are pushing Ukrainian government to protect vulnerable youth worldwide by cracking down on the sale of deadly chemicals from their country that basically can be made into a substance that is used for suicide, particularly for youth suicides.
This mirrors the fentanyl thing in a way.
Yeah.
There is this chemical that comes from Ukraine. It's a legal chemical. It is a legal chemical, and unfortunately, if it comes in certain concentrations, it can be used for suicide. And unfortunately, it has been used for suicides.
Yeah.
The Canadian government is able to stop some of the stuff that they know it's coming in, but every once in a while, one will leak past. Somebody will take it and commit suicide with it.
Yeah.
Now, the problem the Ukrainian government has, of course, right now it's in the middle of a war, but it also that's a legal compound, and that's the same thing with fentanyl.
Yeah.
The stuff that makes fentanyl are legal. Everything there is legal, and it's used to make other drugs or other components. It's just the fact that it can be used for other things, and that's the same as basically, well, fertilizer. Fertilizer can be used to make bombs. You know, so what do? Do you stop the sale of fertilizer?
Yeah.
You know, so that's what the Ukrainians are saying. But however, the other Western countries are saying Ukraine could do a better job of watching over this stuff, just like we're putting the pressure on China to do a better job.
And the example in this was talking about Grace, who died last year at the age of 23, and they basically intercepted packages that were on a welfare check on her, that these packages somehow had gotten through the system, and you know, even though they've been looking out for these drugs, you know, and the content.
Yes,
you know,
they do, and they're not going to mention what the drug is here either. They're not going to mention.
Of course not. No, but you can.
They're not going to mention what the drug is here because they don't want to be. Yeah, because what happens, unfortunately, with people who are very depressed or feel like commit suicide, if they hear somebody else doing it, they'll do it.
Yeah,
that's why I think there was one time there was like I think about 450 jumpers in the Toronto subways every year. They don't publish any of them because they found if they do, once they put in the paper somebody jumped, the next day they'll have 3 or 4 jumpers.
Yeah.
So they don't put it. That's the same reason why they didn't put the suicides that have happened here in Niagara Falls, because if they do, all of a sudden they get an acceleration of people. That's how many people are on the edge who are so depressed. Unfortunately, I don't know if right now Ukraine can do much about it because the compound, I think, what is it used as? Food preservative? I can't remember.
It's not illegal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but it's the concentrations that it is. But unfortunately, somebody's taking this substance, concentrating it, and selling it on suicide websites.
Yes.
Somebody is exploiting the misery of some people, the depression, the angst that people feel that they have no other alternative but to leave this world. They're profiting from that, which is grotesque.
And the trouble is, of course, this chemical, and to quote from here, it says, is not classified as a narcotic drug under Ukrainian law, and presumably the same under British or Canadian law. It's a psychotropic substance. It's not classified as a drug, a psychotropic substance, or a precursor subject to a controlled circulation. Right, so that's why it's not controlled.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like most of the substance. The way I understand it, fentanyl is pretty hard to control stuff that can be used for anything. It's like trying to control diesel.
Yeah.
Like I said before. So if you take fertilizer that's got ammonia in it, I think it's ammonia. I can't remember but it's a typical chemical that fertilizer has. You dampen that fertilizer with diesel fuel. Now you have an incredible bomb. The Oklahoma bombings by Timothy McVeigh were used. Those were the bombs he used, those homemade bombs. So what do? Do you say, do not sell diesel? Because some of that diesel may be used for a bomb. Do not sell fertilizer, because some of that fertilizer may be used for a bomb. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the components for fentanyl, as I understand it, are used in other things. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Go to all the different factories where that stuff that you're using, a certain percentage of it's going to be used to make fentanyl. So don't sell it,
And again, like the old IRA bombs, they used to make them with fertilizer. They'd buy fertilizer and they take
that's what I just said. Yeah,
nitrate from it, wasn't it?
Look, guys who've got to blow up beaver dams up north. What do you think they do? They think they go and get have to go and get dynamite and all that. If they get fertilizer and diesel, they make their own bombs and blow up the beaver dams. Can't do that as easily now, ever since the bombs are being used for bad purposes, like I say, aka the Oklahoma bombings by Timothy McVeigh. So things are watched more carefully now. But
all right.
Anyway,
moving on quickly. Niagara College is basically got a drones program is being used to join Ontario's emergency system. So Defence Systems Engineering Program is a Canada first. So they're looking to help the Defence Systems Engineering technology that they're trying to help Ontario with right now. I'm presuming.
I got an update here from Mike. Mike on the solid steel strike. I didn't know anything about it. Of course, they're striking, so I'm just giving them the honk and everything. So Mike says here that Stephen Cohen, the owner of Solid Steel, is suing the city of Niagara Falls and Ontario Superior Justice. The lawsuit centers on the city allowing new residential housing to be built next to his long-standing industrial facilities, which resulted in residential noise complaints because of the planning and decisions. Oh God, I'm putting all kinds of little things. Anyway, so go on. Anyway, we did talk about that earlier on in the show. I mentioned that Lori Lococo was trying to help sort of mitigate between the in that particular case it was Washington Mills and Thundering Waters. Anyway, because of the planning decisions, Cohen cited that it's impossible to operate the business out of the city facility, prompting the company to shift the majority of its operations to Welland. He offered concessions to the Niagara Falls workers, taking advantage of the situation. This will also have a lawsuit. Do not worry about prompting. So I still don't know why the guys are out there.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that's fine. All right. Again,
thanks very much, Mike. That's excellent.
It's a good update. Yeah. All right. So back to Niagara College, because we were talking about the air quality earlier on. They're talking about the drones being used to assess floods, wildfire, and storm damage, and monitor hazardous materials incidents and a whole wide range of things. So that's quite appropriate, given that we started the day talking about air quality. I just wanted to put that in. I know we're at the end of the show right now. Right.
Yes. So anyway,
Food for thought for everybody is the reason for leaving it at that point. All right.
All right. I like to just to mention Gaza like I do every day. I'll mention Gaza. You have no idea of the untold suffering of the people of Palestine. Everybody thinks that October 7th, well, they need payback for October 7th. October 7th is one of many, many outrages that have happened between the Israelis and the Palestinians that go back to 1897.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, people do not realize that the Jewish state was created partly by Jewish terrorists, very similar to Hamas, very similar indeed. They murdered people. The Irgun blew up the King David Hotel and killed 91 people there. And then that guy who ran the Irgun ended up becoming the prime minister, or the prime minister of the country later on. Shimon Peres, others like him became prime ministers of the country, and they were cold-blooded terrorists. So when you look at cold-blooded terrorists of Hamas, when they crossed over the border on October 7th, first of all, the first thing you got to ask is, how did they get across that border? How did they? The IDF is the strongest military in the Middle East, and a bunch of nobodies managed to get through there. So that's the first thing. Second thing you have to ask, how many people were actually killed by Hamas?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And third, and how much were actually killed by the IDF fighting Hamas at the time?
Oh, yeah.
And the third thing you have to ask yourself is, remember that this is one more, as terrible as it was, as grotesque it is, you have to remember that any oppressed nation fights back with murder. The Iroquois did that against white people. The Apaches, the Comanches, what did they do? They didn't go in and they did atrocities to try to scare people away. Unfortunately, that's the way the people act, as unconscionable as it is.
Mm.
The fact of the matter is, you've had a situation here where you had an oppressor and the oppressed. And the oppressor oppresses, the oppressed fights back. The oppressor then is by murder, basically. You murder people, but you oppress them and you murder them to keep them oppressed. They come back and murder you. Then you murder them some more, and they murder back. This is a back and forth thing. And Israel looks like it's the hero, the Western looking democracy, but that's all a lie. It's been living off Western money the whole time. And there is now, there is now legislation up that won't go through that is going to try to strip Israel of the $3.8 billion it gets annually, not to mention special amounts of money it got from Biden for its war in Gaza. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.